All right, we'll get started. Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Feedback from 2023 to help you in 2024. Please note that we will be recording this session for anyone who was unable to attend, and also if there's anything that you wanted to go back and review. Today you have myself, Georgia Dale, Client Manager for Blackbox, joining you. I'm based in Springsure, Central Queensland, and also Edwina Warby, who is our Senior Client Manager based in Wagga. Just some quick housekeeping. Please feel free to send through any questions into the Q&A. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen, and we'll make some time at the end to go through any questions. We wanted to take this opportunity to offer attendees of the webinar today 20% off any Blackbox subscription for anyone who's signing up by the 30th of January. So keep that one in mind as we move through the webinar. Big thank you to you all for jumping on and joining us today. This is a great opportunity to learn how you can start the year on the front foot by leveraging your historical data to inform the genetic and management decisions in your herd throughout the year ahead. I'll hand over to Edwina to kick us off with feedlot feedback.
Thanks, Georgia, and thanks everyone for jumping on. So as Georgia mentioned, we will cover feedback today. So what it is and why we think that it's important, how you can link your carcass and feedlot feedback back to your on-farm weight and genetic data, and then also how you can get hold of this different types of feedback data. So there's two types of feedback, obviously: carcass data, which you've probably received from the abattoir for years now, and feedlot feedback data from the feedlot. So I guess Blackbox created a solution for the issue that we found where feedlots, it was difficult for them to provide this feedback back to producers. It was a really time-consuming process due to the systems. So we've now given them a solution to provide this data back in an interactive dashboard that you can actually use and link back to your on-farm data. So you're probably used to opening spreadsheets or PDFs and closing them and not looking at them again, or spending hours in the office trying to link EIDs back to your TrueTest session or your Gallagher session to get an idea of what those animals were. So I will cover off on the feedlot feedback side of things, and Georgia will take you through carcass. But as we've said, Blackbox can give the feedlot a comprehensive dashboard that provides you feedlot and carcass data for animals that you have sold to the feedlot. So it's allowing you to make sure that you're breeding the right animal for you on farm, but also further along the supply chain so that you can be a preferred supplier. So within this feedback data, you get a combination of feedlot and carcass performance traits. So some of these key things are their ADG whilst in the feedlot, days on feed, induction and exit weights, hospital percentages, so you can keep an idea on the health of your animal and how much it's costing the feedlot, as well as a specific carcass and MSA traits that you might be focusing on for your herd. So the benefit of getting this data back in a dashboard, broken down by individual animal data, is allowing you to link this back to your on-farm data that you might be collecting in multiple different crush side systems. So if you're collecting sire information or DNAing animals, you can link it back to sire and dam. Source pick for those that are trading animals, you can compare animals where you've got them from, as well as property of origin. So different breeder picks if you've got multiple properties, induction weights, and then also different breeds. So I'll take you through some examples of what these dashboards look like. So for example, here you can see a feedlot feedback dashboard. So this allows you to look at animals that you have sold onto the feedlot. So what you'll get back is KPIs along the top. So a number of head, induction and exit weights, carcass weights, ADG, and average marbling performance, if that's something that you're focusing on. So some of you will have already been receiving dashboards like this from the feedlot, and you can claim them. We have multiple different tiered subscriptions that allow you to start with just a basic feedback dashboard from one feedlot, right up to combining it from multiple feedlots and source picks, as well as then linking it back to your on-farm data. So there's plenty of different tiered solutions there based on how many dashboards you might want to be using. So up here, that's where you can then filter by the different properties that you're selling the cattle from, as well as different feedlots, breeds, and then other certain, say, kill date ranges as well. So on any of these charts, you can make a selection on the individual data. So what we most commonly see is producers selecting different induction years or dates to make sure that the herd average is improving over time as you're making better genetic decisions or maybe different management decisions as well. So for example, here I've just selected the animals that they sold in 2020 versus 2021, 2022, and so on. So you can see the rest of the data changes as we make those selections. So there's a lot of charts here that you can choose to turn on and off based on what you want to focus on, as well as ordering them to be based on your priority. So for example, here we've got ADG in the feedlot, marbling, days on feed often has a big contribution to the performance, exit and carcass weights, and then down here, that hospital percentage that we spoke about before as well. So at the moment, I'm just going to select a higher marbling and higher ADG example to show you how we can take that back to on-farm data. So if I just make a selection of those animals, and you will see that it adds the individual EIDs to the list builder. So blurred for confidentiality reasons, but in your own account, you'll be able to see the individual EIDs. We can then use that list to take back to our growing dashboard. So for example, if you're wanting to then link it back to sire information or breed information or different property of origins, you can do so here. You can also click on those individual EIDs to see their lifetime data. So any treatments, any weights, sires, things like that. It will show you all of that data. So based on that on-farm data, you get an idea of their average weaning weight in this particular example, exit weight, time spent growing, and ADG. So if we just select one particular sire, you'll obviously see the data for just that sire's progeny. Same way if you just want to focus on a particular breed or property of origin. So that's feedlot feedback. If there's any questions there, feel free to pop them in the chat. Otherwise, I will hand over to Georgia to cover the carcass side of things.
Thanks, Edwina. All right, on to carcass feedback. Most of you are probably quite familiar with this example file down the bottom here that Edwina also gave you a little bit of insight into before. So most of you will get this back from your processor as either a CSV or a PDF. So we receive this, we can work with this with all of the major processors. So there's a few logos here that outline the main ones. There's a heap more as well that we can ingest this data for and display it onto the dashboards, which we'll have a look at shortly. So as we mentioned, this is data that most of you are already getting back from the processor. And as Edwina said, maybe you're having a quick look across the bottom line, maybe you're spending quite a lot of time trying to derive some insights out of it yourself in a spreadsheet. So hopefully what we'll run through today will save you some time there. What we have spent some time working on with some of the processors that we have quite close relationships with is making your historical data more readily available. So there's a little list over here of the processors that have those historical data exports there and available for you upon request. This cuts down a whole heap of time for you having to go back through emails, pulling the data out, and makes it easy to gain the value of that potentially years and years of historical data and start to use that in your business. to just visualize the flow of data across both the grass-fed and grain-fed systems that Edwina ran through earlier. With the grass-fed side, you can see here, you get that grading, carcass grading data back. That then goes to you, the producer, and then into your black box account and is visualized into an interactive dashboard. Similarly, with grain-fed, the carcass grading and health data comes back to the feedlot, where it's then combined with the feedlot performance dashboard feedlot performance data collected at the feedlot. That's combined in a black box dashboard and then issued out back to the supplier by the feedlot. I'll just jump across to our dashboards.
And Edwina, just a question that's come in there is, can I just start out with black box for carcass data only and then add on-farm data later as we start collecting it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have a number of tiered subscription options. So you can start with just the carcass dashboard alone, or obviously just the feedlot feedback dashboard alone. And then as you collect more data on farm, you can link that back through a black box account. So there's multiple different options where you can start off with just a carcass dashboard, or then work your way up to linking it back to on farm as well.
Thank you. All right, so this is an example of the black box carcass dashboard. So this is looking at company specs, quite similar to what Edwina ran through earlier with the feedlot feedback dashboard. You've got a number of filters here, including price, carcass weight, breed, abattoir. So this one allows you to go in and select the different abattoirs that you sell to and compare the grading data that you're getting back. You can filter by HGP and also organic for any organic producers out there. You can filter by property here. So this just allows you to compare the data received back against the property that those animals were finished on. Filter by sex along the top here and kill date with this carcass date range. You've got your KPIs along the top. So number of head, a total price received, an average price per kilo, and then an average carcass weight. Key things that I want to show you on this dashboard is the property of origin chart here. So this allows you to compare animals against different picks. So for example, this might be our own pick and these might be the vendor bred cattle compared to cattle that may be trade cattle and born on other properties, or it may be another breeder block that you have. That allows you to split them out and you'll see how the KPIs change across the top there per property as well. Second thing is discount categories. So what Black Box allows you to do is have a easy snapshot of what you're being discounted for. Sometimes this may be one of the things that we skim over as we're having a look at the spreadsheet, and this chart here pulls that together and makes it a lot easier to have a look at what impact these discounts may be having on your business. So this is something that you'll use the knowledge that you have as a beef producer to delve into what management or genetic decisions may be able to influence these, depending on whether they're something that can be managed for, influenced or not. So you'll just see there, I'll click through these again. We've got a meat color discount here. That seems to be the majority, and you'll see this property of origin change relevant to the discount that I've selected. If we move across to fat color, similarly, we've got that against these two property of origins and so on. Moving across to MSA, all quite similar with your filters and KPIs across the top. You've got a lean meat yield percentage and an MSA index. This data summary table is quite key. So you'll see that it's a breakdown of what graded MSA and what didn't. So it's giving you a number of head, a percentage of the total. So you can see here in this 12-month period that 7.8% haven't graded. It's giving you that breakdown of the average carcass weight between what did and didn't grade, average price per kilo and average price per head. So you can see here that's quite a significant difference per head. And if you look at that as opportunity lost, the ability that this dashboard gives you to identify why that may be and then influence it is very powerful. If we come down here and have a look at the reasons for ungrades, which is quite key, you'll see that in this particular example, the ungrades are based on rib fat and pH. So that's allowing us to select those individual animals that didn't grade and then take that back to your growing dashboard, which I'll just run through on a different example on MSA index here. So I'll select anything that's had an MSA index of above 60, and quite similar to Edwina, how she took those back to the growing dashboard as well. We'll add them to the list builder here, and then we'll take them across to the growing performance dashboard, which is looking at their weights while they were on farm. So we'll just filter those by that list, and you'll see we've got 245 head that we selected that had a high MSA index over on the MSA dashboard. And this is displaying their on-farm data here. So you can see that they were on farm for an average of 78 weeks, and their average daily gain across the 245 head was 0.58 kilos a day. Another key thing with this is breed. So this gives you the ability to break down by breed. So you can have a look in this example, Sanders versus the crossbred cattle, and see if there's any relationships with animals that are constantly bringing back that higher MSA index versus animals that aren't. And again, with that, with the MSA discounts as well, that can be brought back and see if there's any trends in the data that you can identify and make decisions around in your operation as well. I'll just come back to our slides. All right, we've got some time for questions, so pop them into the chat if you have any. Whilst you're doing that, I'd imagine that you're probably interested to know more after some of the examples that Edwina and I have ran through today. If you would, we've got a few links in the chat, and they will come out in our email after this webinar with the recording that will link you through to our pricing information, and also a link to book a demo with us. So feel free to book a demo with Edwina or myself. We're more than happy to run through in more depth some of the things that we've touched on today and help you get a solid understanding of how they may, how they'll be very good tools in your operation as well. So keep an eye out for them. To finish up, why is this data important? And why is, I guess, bringing it into Blackbox in this visual and interactive way important to influence the productivity of your business? It allows you to make more informed genetic and management decisions based on the performance of your cattle. It allows you to easily visualize trends and correlations year on year, understand compliance better, identify lost opportunity, which is those examples that we've just run through there as well, and help you to become a preferred supplier. Edwina and myself have our contact details down here. Feel free to give us a call or send us through an email with any questions, or again, use that book a demo link and we can have a delve into those dashboards as well, relevant to your operation. If you have any questions, please send them through.
Okay, I've got a few questions coming through. First one is, if I'm already on Blackbox, can you explain how I can access feedlot feedback data?
Yep. So I might just share my screen quickly to Georgia, and I'll bring up an example of what that looks like for a current Blackbox client. So when you're already a Blackbox client, the way that you can add it to your account is you will receive the feedback dashboard from your feedlot, and there will be a little blue button up in the top right that says claim. This you can just click on that and add it to your account. If you're a new Blackbox client, you can also click on that and it will take you through setting up a feedlot feedback combined dashboard as well. So like I mentioned before, there's a few options around that starts at free and then works up to a black box subscription as well. So yeah, just for those that receive a feedback dashboard, there'll be a little blue claim button that allows you to add that to your account.
Awesome, thank you. And just one in regards to carcass feedback. If I'm currently receiving some carcass feedback in PDF format, is there a way I can get this into Blackbox?
Yep. So if you request that carcass feedback from your processor in a CSV format, that will be able to come into your Blackbox account very easily.
Okay, awesome. And another one, does Blackbox offer support in how to use the dashboards to get the best insights out of our business?
I'll let you answer that, Georgia.
Okay. Yes, we certainly do. So we spend quite a bit of time with our clients in the setup stages, and then we're always there to give a call the whole way through as well around getting you established using the system, identifying how you really want to use it in your operation, and then spending some time with you and making sure you get those outcomes through the system as well.
And Em, I just wanted to add to one of your earlier questions too around can you use Blackbox if you only have carcass data? The benefit of using Blackbox is as part of the subscription, we actually offer a number of years included in that subscription of historical data. So if you're worried that you don't have enough on-farm data to get you started, there's plenty of insights that you can get out of just uploading historical carcass data as well. So feel free to chat to us around that as well, but particularly if you are sending to those abattoirs that can send you just one file of historical data, makes your life really easy. But yeah, definitely plenty of the information that you can get out of that carcass data alone before collecting on-farm data.
Yeah, great. And one final one, can I view data from across multiple properties all together?
Yes, you certainly can. So in that example there on the carcass dashboard, there's a property selection filter. So you can select just one single property and look at years of data for that using the date filter, or you can select all of your properties and have a look at the data collated across all of those and look at your higher level averages across the business as well.
Excellent. Thank you. I don't have any more questions at this stage.
All right. If that's all of our questions, I think we'll wrap it up there. We will send the recording again around after this, as we mentioned, and thank you all very much for jumping on.
Thanks, Georgia.